Okay, finally, today I'm very happy to welcome rising actress Sarah Hustead. How are you, Sarah? How is everything?
I'm great. How are you?
I'm okay. Everything is okay. Thank you very much for scheduling many times the live. I am. I saw and read a lot of your work, and I'm very enthusiastic to ask you first about your interest into the art, uh, childhood and teen. How did it begin with you?
Yeah, that's a great question. Honestly, I I was a major fan of TV and movies as a kid, and so like dipped my toes into the world of theater, but I quickly realized that that was not for me. um, Definitely
Mhm,
not like great being on stage. But I started to do like I did a few commercials, one for Fox, and I had a lot of fun with that, and it didn't carry the same like anxiety that being on stage did. So
mhm,
I was like, okay, you know what? I think this might be my thing. Um, but I focused on school, like just regular like high school stuff like that for a while. But I was super into like watching movies and TV shows, obsessed with them. I was
mhm,
writing screenplays, but I didn't like actively start doing like a lot of like online social media stuff for acting until like I was in my like junior senior year of high school.
mhm,
Because during COVID, I was actually like right before that was hospitalized for something called PKD, which is a kidney
mhm,
disease, and I had a lot of time on my hands being in the
mhm,
hospital, and so I was like, you know what, I'm gonna start like acting out scenes from shows I like. um a major one of those was Vampire Diaries, and I kind of gained a following doing that. And then from
mhm,
there, I was like, okay, well, what are the next steps? So I started producing some of my own like short films and like content. And then
mhm.
I met some people through that, and we started making screenplays and other films and all that. So yeah.
And you uploaded them on Facebook, YouTube,
Yeah. So
your early work?
yeah. So all of the work that I have like made that is currently out, you can find on
Mhm,
like either Instagram, YouTube, um, or TikTok. I don't really use TikTok as much anymore because I
mhm,
found that like I kind of outgrew the platform a little bit because like I found that the things I'm currently interested in doing are better received on Instagram.
mhm,
Whereas like a lot of the like skits and like stuff like that was better on TikTok, like
mhm.
recreation of current shows. I think that some of the other stuff that I've been doing recently has been better received on Instagram.
Yes, yes. I think Instagram right now is like a business card for the artist. And myself, when I went last year to Tribeca Festival in New York, everybody was telling me, "Give me your Instagram, I will DM you." You know, they don't want to exchange business cards like before. You know. And I want to ask you because this experience on social media, you know, myself, when I grew up, I used to miss an actor or a director or an actress to go and see them, you know, in cinema. You know, but right now I don't miss them that much because if I miss someone or think about someone, I can find him or find her on Instagram. What I wanted to ask you, do you think this help the stardom of the actor help his fan or diminish the opportunity of people going to see the artist in cinema on their television screen? What do you think?
Yeah. So just to clarify, you're asking like if I think that the shift towards more like
Yes,
socials and less like
yes,
cinema diminishes the work of like the artist at all.
yes. And his
Okay.
stardom or her stardom, you know, and you know, because the fans, you know, used to long for the artist between his films. Some actors or filmmakers sometimes they do a film every 2 years, 3 years, 5 years, 10 years sometimes. Hmm. What do you think right now the trend?
Yeah. I definitely think the trend has been very much like socials and also recently a big thing has been like verticals and stuff like that is like able to be watched on a phone and has like these plot lines that are very short and snappy, and like anyone, even if they have a very small attention span, can grasp it. And I don't think that the presence of social media entertainment and like pocket size entertainment is a problem, but I do think that it's unfortunate that it's coming at the cost of like traditional cinema, because I think that both things should be able to coexist within the same world, because they're two different like artistic mediums. And I think that, for example, like with Netflix, like buying Warner Brothers, I think that was like something that kind of spoke to me, because I was like, oh my God, Warner Brothers is, I went to Warner Brothers when I was a kid and did like the studio lot tour, and it was really exciting, and it like inspired me a lot. And I mean, I love Netflix, love streaming, love social media, but I think cinema is more than that too. And I think that people are forgetting the experience that they get from going to a theater and watching a movie with other people. And so I don't think it's ever fully going to go out of style, because some people value it too much. But it is sad that like people tend to not care as much about that these days.
Yes, yes. Myself, my experience, I work in American film distribution in my country, Egypt, in the 90s. And I was in Fox during the release of Titanic, and Warner when The Fugitive and U.S. Marshals and Murder at 1600 were released, and then in the 7 major studios at the time, in distribution. And we used to work a lot for each title, do press and do ads in newspaper in the time, and magazines, and do a press screening. So there was a lot of work to do to promote a film. And Netflix, I think, has a certain type of productions, because they produce as well not only American content, but they produce worldwide, in the Middle East, in India, in Korea. If you have seen many Korean, and everywhere, I mean, they co-produce in many territories. And what I was thinking about this buyout, that either Paramount and Universal, there were, I mean, Paramount and Warner, they were competing, Netflix and Paramount were competing for Warner. I think the style of production is different than Netflix a bit. I don't know. Yeah. And but I want to know, when did you start to land your first acting roles in other people production? I see you had done many so far.
Yeah. So you said, what was my first acting role in someone else's
production?
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah. So darn, that's a hard question. I'm trying to think back. I would say, I'm gonna go with one of the first productions that I got paid to work on. Because I think that if I was to go through all of the ones that I've done that like weren't paying productions, then it's a lot. But I think the first thing that I like made income off of was this film called Ravager that actually won an award at Tokyo International Film Festival. But that was the first, it was like a horror found footage film. That's the first one that I like made a decent income off of. Before that, I mostly just did, I did do a TV show. I worked on a TV show as a stand-in, but that didn't really, that made decent income. But my first lead role in something was Ravager. And after that, I started to pick up more and more of those roles, primarily in the like thriller horror space, which is really interesting because I hate horror movies. But it definitely I think that I started to like gain a little bit of traction in that sphere, which again, I was very surprised about because I was like, what? I hate horror movies, but yeah, so I think that was the first one.
Yes, yes. I want to know about your experience in found footage. Myself, I love found footage films, but I discovered it gives me the creep when I watch them at home. In cinema, no problem, because I'm surrounded with a lot of people. So I think the first found footage film I've seen was the Blair Witch Project
Oh,
in
yes.
cinema. And I saw the first film of the series became a big series right now. I interview many other actors from it. You know, I mean, of course you'll be familiar with it, VHS. You know, I saw the first film in Tribeca Festival in New York. It was like a late night show, and I loved the experience among the audience because everybody was screaming like this. Everything happened. You know, the jump scares. Jump scares. But here, when I see it at home, sometimes I'm alone at home. My wife is not here. It gives me some creep.
Yeah.
Because I think because the way it was shot, camera movement, and how the actors act and react, it is very, very realistic. You feel that somebody shot it by his cell phone or small camera or body cam. So the experience, if it is well made, it is well made.
Yeah.
So tell me about your experience in found footage.
Yeah. Honestly, I had seen Blair Witch Project before I worked on this movie, and
Yes,
I
research.
I was kind of like, oh, okay, like I at
Okay.
first I wasn't totally drawn to the project because I was like,
Yes.
okay, like listen, this is not my cup of tea. Like I wanted
Mhm,
to act in it, but I also was like a little bit like, oh my God, this is kind of freaky.
mhm,
But the storyline like focused on this girl who was like attacked by this group of like guys on the street, and then
mhm.
she actually is a vampire and she methodically like kills them one by one. And
Okay.
so I thought it was interesting from like a social level and also from the traditional like, I guess, the fact that this like woman was the villain, I found that kind of interesting.
Mhm,
So that's what like drew me to the project.
mhm.
And I think the experience of filming it was really interesting because as you
Yes.
said, when you're filming a found footage film, you don't have a big like all these big lights and this big camera rig and like all
Yes.
this stuff.
You're running,
It's
and the TP is running after you, maybe.
yeah,
Huh?
it's
Yes. You are reacting like doing a live from your cell phone. But I think your character was both a villain and a victim as well, because there is a twist that she is a vampire. And tell me about your preparation to play a vampire. What did you see? Because I see on TikTok, I saw your TikTok, you do a lot of character, like doing. Can you hear me, or it's cut a bit? Hello, hello, hello. Yes, I'm still here.
Sorry, my computer like crashed for some reason, but I'm
No
back.
problem. I thought you lost your Wi-Fi or your cell phone ran out of battery.
Yeah, I think it was the
Uh,
Wi-Fi. I'm on my computer, but it just like crashed, but it's fixed now. So
okay, very nice. What I was saying, yes, I was asking you about found footage. Yes, how did you prepare for a role of a vampire?
yeah, that's a great question. I think as I cut off, you were talking about my TikTok, and I definitely I was a huge fan and am still a huge fan of Vampire Diaries as a kid.
Yes.
And I started like making videos on TikTok, like inspired by Vampire Diaries, because someone had commented on one of my videos being like, "Oh my God, you look like Elena." And then that kind of like transpired into like making some content and like trying to recreate scenes from that. So I think honestly, like in order to play a vampire, I just watched Vampire Diaries and Twilight and like rewatched a bunch of vampire films
Yeah.
and looked at the way that the vampires in that carry themselves. Specifically for the role of Cassandra in Ravager, I was looking at like Catherine Pierce because she's
Yeah.
someone that used to be a victim but is now like very menacing, which kind of fits with the archetype of Cassandra.
Yes. You know, if you want to watch vampire films, I invite you to look for vampire films in from Italy and France and
Yeah.
the UK, 60s and 70s. You know, what we call giallo. You know, and many vampire films. They were very until now inspired. Even I think they inspired Tarantino
Oh,
and
really?
Robert Rodriguez to do. You know, From Dusk Till Dawn, and you know, there was a Tales from the Crypt film about vampire, many vampire film. But if you want to watch a lot of the hard stuff, you know, try to look for your European vampire film. I want to ask you because I see you studied both acting and writing. I think creative writing.
Correct.
Tell me about your project that you have written and you would like to realize in the future.
Yeah. So the last like big thing that I wrote and
Mhm.
produced was Tell Me a Secret. And now moving on from that, I I have a lot of projects in the works. I'm not really the kind of person that like tends to work on one thing at a time. I work on like
Yes.
6 different things at a time. So right now, I have a few pitches in the works. One is for a vertical series that kind
Yes.
of steps outside of like the current tropes within. I mean, it's still tropey, but it steps outside of like some of the like more problematic things that go on in some of the verticals, and is a little bit more grounded, more so something you'd see on like the CW or like network TV. So I'm working on that. I am actually sending the pitch to a producer tonight. So that is exciting. And then
Mhm.
besides that, as far as like movies go, I am currently writing a feature film that I'm really excited about, that is about a woman who goes through sexual violence and then tries to like work on reclaiming her sexuality and
Mhm.
like engaging in relationships and how that's a complicated journey.
Mhm.
And I would say the last thing I'm working on right now is a pilot, proof of concept that I hope to pitch at a festival, not sure which one yet. And it's called Mask Up. And it's about COVID. It's about 4 roommates. It's a sitcom, about 4 roommates that get stuck together. They move in together the day before lockdown starts, and
Yes,
they have some clashing personalities. So
for sure. Yes, for sure. I hope they don't transform into werewolves or vampires. And
yeah. Yeah, no, there's no werewolves or vampires in these ones, but you know what?
okay,
There's a witch in the vertical one, so there's that.
okay.
But
Yeah, yes, yes, this is my piece of cake. But I want to tell you, you have a film or a character you have seen and you would like to do something like it, or a dream project?
Yeah. That's a really good question. I think I've always, as far as TV goes, I've always been, it's a little nerdy, but I've always been a big fan of like some of the like YA drama stuff. So I definitely a huge fan of the Summer I Turned Pretty series. And when that was adapted into a show, I was like, oh my God, that's so exciting. So I would love to work on something like that. I also really like Outer Banks, obviously really liked Vampire Diaries. Yeah, so I think just something in the like YA drama space um, would be something I would be interested in doing.
Hmm.
I'm also like I never used to be interested in thriller, but through the experience of working on a lot of thrillers, I'm also like definitely interested in exploring more of that as well,
Hmm.
especially like complicated like psychological thriller, especially like there's this new niche genre of like psychological thriller romance, which is really interesting.
Hmm.
So stuff like that, I think I would like to dive more into, especially like YA because of my age. I think it like puts me in a good place for that right now.
Yes. When you said psychological thriller and romance, I want you, if you haven't seen it, to invite you to see some of Brian De Palma films, like Dress to Kill, like Obsession. You will see this mix, of course. I love Brian De Palma work. I met him once in Berlin. I
Uh-huh.
love to study, to look, to view his film because I love the way he moved the camera angle, the lensing is quite different than other directors. How he realized tension. And also he collaborated with an Italian music composer. His name is Pino Donaggio, and I love to listen to the soundtracks apart on Spotify. Of the soundtracks Pino Donaggio he did because he was a singer in Italy and focused later on creating, orchestral, soundtracks for thrillers, and giallo films. And Brian De Palma hired him, work with him in many of his films in the 70s and the 80s, like Blow Up as well was Blow Out with John Travolta. Uh, every time somebody tell me uh, he or she works on horror films, I always ask when you finish every day shoot, do you think about what you did? Did you have nice dreams? so, so I want to know your answer.
Yeah. So you're asking me like how I feel after like a long day of shooting?
Yes,
Yeah.
especially horror films. If it's you dream about something, you feel something until the movie is finished shooting.
Yeah. Um, Honestly, the best example I have of that is like where something like really like I was like, "Oh my God." Like um I worked on when I was working on Tell Me a Secret, it was a very short shoot with like a lot to get done and
Hmm.
very high intensity because I was helping direct. I had written the film, I was producing and I was acting. And
Hmm.
I like literally didn't have any time to like let go of the film. Like normally when you work on something, you wrap for the day, you go home, like it's usually pretty late, but you have time to like, kind of like release it, go to bed, wake up, go in the morning, and all you have to worry about is acting. But
Hmm.
in this situation, I would wrap for the day with acting, and then I would be trying to go through like the next day with write like director's notes or get out call sheets on time. So it was really stressful. I didn't sleep or eat for like 4 days. It was really, really chaotic, but it was definitely worth it. Um, but I think that's like one of the times where like the little bit that I did sleep, I was just like I was dreaming about, oh my God, did I get this done on time? Oh my God, did I do this right? Did I do this? So it was
Hmm.
very, very stressful experience. But fun as well.
Yes, I'm very happy for you that you start to write and as well produce behind the camera and act right now. And I think in the future you maybe consider directing yourself as well. And I'll be very happy to see your directorial work in the future.
That's very sweet. Yeah, I'm interested in directing. I did help direct on this project, but I wasn't the primary director. But I do think that that's something I'm interested in doing. The feature film I'm working on, I'm considering like directing and acting in, but it's definitely something I'm interested in. I'm not, as far as like film stuff goes, I'm really in love with all of it except for like cinematography or anything involving technology because I'm really bad at technology. But I directing is something that I've always wanted to do, especially like directing and acting together in the same film. So
Great. I want to thank you very much for this interview, and I look forward for your upcoming projects. And if you have a new project or something, I would like to invite you again to talk about it.
yeah, that would be lovely. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Have a lovely afternoon. Take care, and best wishes in your upcoming pitches and screenplays.
Thank you so much. Have a great night.
Take care. Bye bye.